I think I got a good one for y'all today. And so I want to compare this structure here. I'm just going to move right straight on into this thing. I want to compare this structure here to what we've seen in the past and how it may relate to, um, what we may be seeing here in the future, the very near future. I was really hoping to just do a monthly candle close live stream. The chart just kind of seems to be rushing me a little bit, not in the aspect of it's just going to be too late, but there's a couple of things that I just want to have out there before they happen, and this is kind of starting to take shape in my opinion, and I just figured it's better to be a little early than a little late. I mentioned earlier that I definitely prefer to predict the move that's going to happen as opposed to explain it. I mean, really don't need too much explanation of things in the past from a technical analysis. They are what they are. They don't really benefit you when you're in the present moment. So let's see if we can kind of make a little bit of sense of this and see what's fixing to come. All right. So I did a live stream the other day on Saturday night, matter of fact, and I was just really breaking down this structure and what I keep referring to in the it was the weekly chat then, but no, now it's the daily thread. So I wanted to edit it. There was one part of it. Oh my gosh! So I'm sitting there and I'm like really breaking down this awesome part of it, and I have this image just brought up right over the top of it, and I can't see that because I'm sitting on this side of things doing it, and I go over there and I just break down this whole structure with the viewers just looking at this picture. And that was all they could see. Yeah, that's just me. Well, I wanted to edit that out, obviously, and I wanted to re-record that little segment, and I wanted to just kind of change a couple of things, and I could never get a video to come out how I wanted it to. So I decided, well, I'm just gonna pretty much scrap this video. I'm just gonna re-record a new one, and I'm just gonna overwrite it. Then I started doing that, and I started noticing like so many more things. Things I haven't noticed in the past, things I have noticed in the past, forgot about, or things that I just maybe had thought was just a little less significant. And I'm just not gonna release that video no more. Like the live stream was the live stream, and then there's really no more remnants of it. And I'm gonna start fresh with this one, and I'll quickly go through what I've been looking at and why I kind of it definitely. All right, so this right here I keep looking at as Wyckoff accumulation. When I went to re-record the video, one of the things I did is I was going to set this. I had it on the 4-hour chart, and I was going to set it back to the 1-hour chart. When I did that, I accidentally clicked the 2-hour, and I never look at the 2-hour chart. So it kind of caught me off guard when I seen this structure, because it really started resembling that Wyckoff accumulation a lot better than what I was seeing in the on the hourly chart or the 4-hour chart. Is that this right here is your preliminary support, then you have your selling climax, you have your automatic rally, and then you start having like support tests. So when I was making that second video, I I got to a part where I was stating that I felt like, and that was right around, I think it was like right around this point right here that I was making that video. Oh yeah, so it was after hours, or right here. So after hours on the 21st of April, and I had stated I think we're out of phase 8. So I'm not going to get into too much detail about it, but at least putting a name to it and everything. If you was interested, you can. It's a very easy chart to find. And anyway, so I said we was getting. I was saying in that video that we was leaving phase A, which is basically just your confirmation that your current downtrend had ended. When you have your preliminary support, your selling climax, your automatic rally, and your support test. Well, we was moving into phase B. In phase B, and it can be kind of prolonged. Phase B can. It's definitely at least twice as long as phase A, and you have multiple support tests along in there. Well, we don't have much data in here, so I'll just put it on here real quick. So this would be your phase A. Then you would have your phase B would start here. In here, you would have multiple support tests. You would also have resistance tests. Also, phase A establishes your trading range, and that's from the bottom of your selling climax to the top of your automatic rally. When you're in phase B, the beginning of it, you have a lot larger price swings than you do at the end of it, and that kind of signals that you're nearing. Sorry, this chocolate moonshine, I'm telling you, it is fantastic. So at the end of phase B, you start having smaller price swings, and that kind of signals that you are exiting B and moving into phase C of it. But then I started noticing, like, we really don't have any big price swings. Sure, there's a couple larger candles, but there isn't any waves really. So I would kind of, I hate this magnet sometimes. I would kind of like to see some actual waves inside of here, and then maybe we come down and we test. That was a little low there, but maybe we test that. Maybe we come back up. But then as we near the end of it, that starts kind of tightening up, and then you exit out of phase B. Well, we don't really see that, and not that I don't think this is happening, and it could just be because of the price levels of this chart. Typically when you are learning about Wyckoff or trying to experiment with it and figure how you can apply it to certain charts or find it in certain charts, the examples that you get are a lot higher up in the charts. They're not sitting at the couple cent mark. So it could just very well be that. But at the same time, I really expected an actual support test. Now these are support tests, but they ain't coming down very deep. And I just wanted to reassure myself that we was gonna have an uptrend out of here as opposed to a downtrend. Now I don't know how much more of a downtrend you could really have, but I wrote it down to a cent, and we could obviously go back to a cent again. And I wanted to just confirm to myself, all the things that I had believed. So I was like, let me just wipe this from my thought process. Let me see what else I can find. And then I started going back to the very beginning. Let me get a couple of these things off of here. Sorry, so I left my keyboard at the office today, and I'm kind of struggling with that, having to reach way over to the laptop to try to hit these buttons. So I told myself, like, let me just wipe this from my memory. Let me go to the beginning of the chart and let me see if I can find some similarities along the way. And I really found a lot more than I expected, and kind of surprised I didn't see more than I had originally. So first thing I had noticed was, and I'd mentioned this in the live stream, I really just only found this right before the live stream, was we kind of have the same structure here where we have a selling climax of source. This one's actually better on the 1 hour. You can actually see it better on the 1 hour. So you have your preliminary support right here. you know, your retrace, your selling climax, your automatic rally, and then you consolidate with a few support tests. So that's kind of the same thing. We're not coming deep like we're not currently, and like I said, that may just be because of the price levels. I'm not really sure. I don't have very much experience in these price levels when it comes to performing my technical analysis. I always believed everybody else when they said it doesn't work on penny stocks, and it wasn't until I seen that it does that I really started trying to run these analysis. But so that's exactly what we did, and so we had our selling climax. We broke below it, and so this is a true automatic or Wyckoff accumulation. So once you leave phase B, you break below it in phase C, that selling climax. You retest it a couple times, so this is called your spring. Then you break out of that, and you move into phase D and E, which takes you on to set new highs. And that's exactly what happened here. So it still very well could be the case, and I'm not writing that off in any kind of way. But just because of those swings, I wanted to find other things. And so we had this here. Then we had put it on the daily chart. I noted, so there's a lot that I found just from this one candle right here, just this one. I went ahead and I started striking these lines across because I just wanted to see how they compared to today. So I put one at the bottom of the wick, at the bottom of the body, at the top of the body, and I put one at the top of the wick. And then I went over to today's, and I noticed, well, the top of the body was resistance for this candle here, which is somewhat odd. The very top of the wick met resistance all along this consolidation range here. It kept going. When I went through it the first time, I went from left to right, and I was kind of analyzing these levels all the way across. And it held us for support. The top of that wick held us for support here when we was in our last rally right through here. These levels really held support well. The body, all of these showed significant levels. Whatever it was that took place right here, which is kind of another Wyckoff accumulation moment, just without those price swings in there. So it breaks down below it. It tested, which I'm on the daily, so it could have tested it more times on like the 2-hour chart, and then it broke through. But that was kind of short-lived, and obviously this was during the biggest time in current management's history. They had just kind of taken over. There was a lot of stuff to fix, so maybe that's why it was kind of voided out. I don't really have an answer to that. But this level, met resistance there. And, oh my gosh, sorry. So there was a lot of significance based off of this candle alone. But also this structure kind of looks similar. And take it back to the 1-hour chart. I don't know why it automatically defaults to current whenever you change the time. So you can see those levels really played out on the 1 hour, how they played out on the 1 hour. But this structure just really kind of looked similar to now. So that's why I have been so excited. And 2.4 cents really doesn't have that much significance when it comes to the fact that we broke it. That wasn't necessarily why I was so excited about breaking it. It's all just based off of strengthening the chart. You start breaking these levels that are holding you down, and that really shows strength in the buyers, which helps you in your bullish standpoint. confirming that there's an uptrend to follow. So this all looks very similar to me. We came up with but we start breaking down at this point. It starts kind of rolling over on itself just a little bit. I'm going to do this and it's going to send it all the way back over. So it starts kind of rolling over on itself. And so this is the shape that I was referring to today, and why I was kind of wanting to go ahead with this live stream, even though it was a little sooner than I want. I was definitely less prepared than I wanted to be to do this. But it starts kind of rolling over on itself, and I just wanted it to be known that there is a chance of testing this support level again, and there is even a chance of breaking below it very slightly. Obviously, we break way below it, then there's something else going on, and we would have to reanalyze it come that time. I feel like 0.016 is gonna be our absolute most definite bottom, like, period. If it breaks below that level, I'm gonna really start I'm getting uneasy in a way. It shouldn't break those levels. It shouldn't break that level at all. I kind of forgot where I was getting at with that. But these levels are so yeah. So we break down below this. Like I said, I'm not as prepared today as I wanted to be. We break down below it. We kind of have this spring, and then it rallies out of there. So we would probably have that happen again. And there's another example I'm going to show too. But we'll probably have that again, where we're going to come down, and here's that level, that selling climax level right here. And so we'll probably come down. We'd probably break down just below it, and I'm hoping not even 16 cents, but I'll show you why I think 16 cents. And so it may wick down to that point very briefly, have our little spring, we'll have our test, and then we'll get out of there. But then I started noticing too, one of the potential paid bashers that we keep having in here lately, which really kind of makes sense with the one that posted that about the short interest right before candle close today. And that also kind of helps me think that this is fixing to, with that extra short interest, this is probably going to break to the downside. It doesn't really have much downside to where I predict the bottom to be. I really kind of predicted the bottom to be up here, but that was before I seen this structure play out, and before I noticed how similar it is to previous structures. But somebody had pointed out that this whole structure here looks strikingly similar to this structure here, and in a way I was arguing with them in the daily threads, saying that it doesn't, and I didn't think that it does, because these swings, obviously, I can't deny the appearance of it, but to break it down, it didn't really seem that similar. But I started breaking it down further today, as a matter of fact, and I started really seeing some striking similarities with it. So you have this that right before that May rally that is playing out kind of like it played out kind of how it's playing out now, and we went off this at 1,500% gains from that point, but it also does kind of resemble this in a couple different ways. We're higher up on the charts when these things are happening, but it's still kind of the same structures. So we have our peak, we have our crash, we have our retracement, and then it goes on to set our bottom here. And we kind of have the same. We have our peak, we have our crash, we have our retracement, and now it's going off to set our bottom. Also with it, you have This level of consolidation could very well be this level of consolidation, and you have you have your rally, which you have your rally. Then you have another downtrend take place, which you do here. Kind of looks just like this. Then it rolls over on itself and comes down. And it rolls on over itself. It comes back, comes down. So it has this rally takes place here, same as this one. One last downtrend before a big push, which could be very well be the one last downtrend before a big push. This still shows after that, but I'm going to show a cause for why this might not even take place, how we might be seeing these same type structures up here, but they be further down on the chart. So you could very easily make the argument that this structure here is this one. And I took a little bit more time on this today. I wondered why this happened the way that it did. And they released the filing on the 24th saying that they signed the purchase agreement for all of Cougar's shares. Like that was on the 24th. Then on the 25th, this happened. You know, so maybe that had something to do with that news. But that was a pretty big candle to not be followed up in any kind of way. I just wanted to state that that's what I had seen with that. This very well also could have been partially like a dark pool event. I'm kind of thinking that this candle may have something to do with a dark pool event. It may not, which dark pools are done by these composite operators, and the composite operators are also the same ones that make the Wyckoff accumulations play out the way that they do. And they buy these astronomical amounts of shares after hours, or before the market opens, and they use them to control the Wyckoff accumulation. So you could easily make the argument that this structure here could be this structure, and then you have your downtrend followed by your round off, and it kind of rounds off here. You have a deep round off at this point with a rally. So you have a deep round off at this point with a rally, and then it goes on to set one further low, and then it's out of here again. Either way of those two, you're looking at it taking place in the very near future. Us seeing some sort of uptrend in the very near future. But which one is it? I mean, it looks more like this one, but technical indicators are pointing more towards this one. And with volume kind of picking up just a little bit, it's hard to see it on the hourly chart. But with volume picking up just a little bit and everything else, I think we're kind of nearing this bottom more so than we are, looking for this to play out. So let me remove these off of here real quick. Actually, no, I'm gonna keep them on. They ain't gonna get in the way any. So I started pulling Fibonacci's, and I pulled them over the whole bear market. I pulled them of this uptrend here. Where we're sitting at now is in a blank spot of all of those, and that's kind of weird that it's such a noticeable accumulation or consolidation range, without being at a Fibonacci. I'll pull a couple just real quick just to show you what I'm referring to. So if we pull it here, we're under the 786, but we can't get to that 1.618. So I mean that's a long way to go. There's no reason to really consolidate at this level. It's not like we're fighting this as resistance or we're using this as support or anything. So I went ahead and I wiped that out. I was like, well, let me just pull it over the entire bear market again. and you do that, well, we're obviously way off on that. So we tested that 236 a couple of times, but we're nowhere near that now. So you just go ahead and wipe that off of there. And I just started pulling different levels, trying to figure out, and I found some that worked out pretty good, but a lot of these levels was kind of missing those marks by a little bit. And it really doesn't matter where you pull your Fibonacci's from, as long as you can see the chart, responding to them levels. When they stop responding to them levels, then you got to use a new Fibonacci. And I noticed that this one's just really kind of playing out very well, which was the very last retracement that we had in this bear market. I'm gonna just not use the magnet. You pull it in here, and you can see how well this 786 level held. You can see how the 382 held support, the 236 held support. Zoom in a little bit more. You can see how the 2.618 held us down, how we reached out to a full Fibonacci. Even on the way back down, the 2.618 that held us as support here, had us at a resistance there. All the way through here, it really lines up pretty well. You get down to these levels, and we're testing resistances at it still. We come all the way down to the 0.5. The 0.5 is, in a way, like your make or break level. The shallower the retracement, the less of the reversal, in a way. So the deepest that you can come is a 382. So really, it would be flipped. So your 382 is actually your 786. Or your 618. Your 618. I'm sorry. So that 382 falls perfectly on 16 cents, which you can see along here has been pretty significant. All the way through here. All the way through this point. I don't know if I'm zoomed out too far. At three, we bounced perfectly. Obviously, we're pulling it from a different area, but before this May rally took place, it bounced off of there perfectly. So kind of how we're seeing this play out, and maybe we're gonna bounce off of that again and keep going. Where currently the 702 is really holding us a very good support, which that's absolutely fantastic. Those support and resistance levels from that one daily candle, from the top of the wick, bottom of the wick, top and bottom of the body, and they're all kind of lining up in here pretty well. So I really like this, and so until it stops using it, I'm gonna keep using it. So what that takes, this would take us, if we was to do a full fib again, that would take us all the way back out to this 7.5 area. Even this, that after we signed that agreement to purchase Cougar shares, it came up to test this level perfectly. Something else I noticed, so we did a full Fibonacci here, but we didn't here. But I've noticed that, so even on this May one, if you was to pull it from this level, we came just under that 3.618. If we was to pull a Fibonacci from this level right here, what does that take us to? So all the way up to about 22 cents. The 3.618 takes us out to about 19 cents. So why do I think that that can play out, from these current levels? Well, I told you that this was 1,500% increase here. About 1,600% increase. Oh, I hate when that happens. We could pull that from this low to 1,600%. And that's about close enough. And that takes us up to this 30-cent mark. But this was 850% from the bottom here to the top by 850%. So what does 850% take us to at this low? I mean, the low may come in just below this, like I was referring to, that 17 cents. We take, so 850% from here takes us up to about 17 cents. And you can see it, based off of this May rally, so right below this gap, which I feel like this gap is going to get filled. So 850%, that's just because this went 850%. That's not to say it can't go and to fill that gap at 980%. That's really not that much different. But you pull that Fibonacci from here, and that takes us just under that 3.618, just like the May, or I can't even remember which one. Oh, it was this one. My bad. No, it wasn't this one either. That was a full Fibonacci. I don't even remember which one I was referring to. Either way, 3.6, almost to the 3.618. So that's I'm kind of thinking that might be where our top sets in here, at 17 cents from this low here. There's a lot of things kind of supporting it, and I've been super excited anyways, even though my initial levels broke. I didn't think 3.3 cents would break, and then once it did, I started seeing where 2.5 cents would kind of play out, and it did. And I would have swore to you that was the absolute bottom. So kind of as I'm saying that 16 cents is the absolute bottom, well, I guess I could be wrong about that too. There's just a whole lot of support saying that it is, and that these levels are gonna come. Do any of y'all have any questions about any of that so far that I could kind of retouch on? Take just a second to have some water here. The best thing you can do when you take a sip of water is to wash it down with this chocolate moonshine. I can't get over it. I mean, who would have thought that chocolate alcohol of any sort would be good? But my gosh. This thing's got a lot going for it. So I'm just going to wonder what is going to take us there. So we have a lot of catalysts coming up this month, and there's no shortage of news that should be released this month. There's always those people that complain about the amount of news releases that we get, and I can very easily see how that could bother some people. I'm thankful. I mean, this is the first investment I've ever been in where the only news that you get is through an official filing. And to completely eliminate all this speculation behind it, all this will this happen, or how true is this to happen? Well, it's got to. I mean, it's an actual legal like document. I mean, it's things that are actually playing out. So I'm excited that they're doing it this way, and it's a new experience for me. But they do. I mean, they release them pretty regularly, especially lately. I mean, we've been getting one a week for several weeks now, and so that's always promising, and that just goes to show that there's actually a lot going on. So we have the venture market uplist potentially. We put an application for that, which we did last year, and it was denied due to the amount of, I think it was the amount of outstanding warrants, and so we have that news that could be released, and that will bring more eyes to the stock. So once we start hitting these extra levels and them investors start seeing that, then it's going to drive them to it, which is going to push it up a little bit higher, and so on and so forth. But we also are expecting some sort of word on the Amazon contract on May 14th. It kind of, it could really go either way. We were surprised by that Double D acquisition. We could be surprised by, maybe they don't grant us a new contract, Amazon, but maybe they do extend the contract some, and that would be short-term bullish to help us kind of drive that price up. This I think took 8 trading days, so that would obviously that kind of news would obviously support the climb for 8 trading days. There's also potential for other acquisitions, and so on and so forth. There's a lot that could really happen in the month of May. I'm gonna take just a second to read through a couple of these chats real here. Yeah, that's exactly right. They're working their tail off, and with the amount of revenue and stuff, like it, it's not surprising that they don't have a longer list of employees on their payroll. So I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all to hear and actually kind of don't see another way around it. Like John and Doug, and like these acquisitions and trying to come up, get these investors to purchase these. See, I'm not a fundamental guy. Like reading those 8Ks and 10Ks and stuff like that, it's kind of a foreign language to me. So I may be mistaken or like misspeaking on some of this. But finding investors to purchase those Series E or whatever they are shares, and to help support these acquisitions and stuff, like they're probably getting in their F-150 and they're riding out there to go spit this proposition to them, and they don't really have time for a PR team. They don't have the payroll for a PR team or anything of the sort. Well, so some people, I don't really know about. When I do my when I first purchased, it's how to say this. When I first buy into a stock, and I put this on Reddit before, like when I first buy into a stock, I do. I mean, as long as it takes me to do a fundamental analysis, whether that be, I mean, it's going to obviously be a minimum of a week, but it could be upwards of a month or so. For me to definitively like answer to myself, does the company have potential from where it's at right now? Once I get that answer, all fundamentals completely go away from me, and it's strictly the chart and nothing else. So working capital and all that kind of stuff, like I'm not really the guy to be able to answer any of that kind of stuff. Uh, there's definitely the potential for that to be the case, but I can't say definitively whether it is or not. I'm not. Um, oh, no doubt. This is, so there is no uh, there's no shortage of people that do the fundamental analysis, and I'm perfectly happy to just leave that to them. I wish I could do it better. It's just not really what excites me like these charts do. The majority of people would much rather do that than look at the charts and try to understand the charts. Um, I just, I myself, I find joy in the charts, and I can very well look at these over watching TV or anything else. Um, so there's no shortage of people that do the fundamental, and like Milner and Casa and all of them, like they are fantastic at it, and it really blows my mind the stuff that they can come up with, and they're a great tool for anybody to use, to ask those types of questions anytime. And they always seem more than happy to dedicate their time towards answering your question or finding out an answer to your question. Um, but I I'm very, very confident that there's another acquisition in the works as we speak right now. How close it is to closing, I can't really say, but I really feel like they're probably talking to multiple other companies, about that uh, about that chance, and I, I expect I expect beginning of May probably to hear at least news of the potential of being one, as opposed to just a speculation. I think the summer is going to be a very busy time for them as far as acquisitions go, especially once we get the uplist. And I'm pretty confident about the uplist this time around. I didn't know last time whether to be or not to be, but knowing what kept us from it last time and knowing what's going on currently, I definitely feel a whole lot more confident about it this time. And all of these things, and they can happen in those they could all happen in rapid succession to where we really just maybe even I'm selling a short here. You know, maybe 20 cents just isn't enough. Maybe we see that 40 to 50 cent range in my exit strategy that I post, and that's when I'll sell half of mine is when we get up to about that 40 cent 40 to 45 cent range is when I'll sell half of mine. And somebody asked when I thought that would happen, and I don't like to time anything because there's just no real way to. Uh, but I'm pretty confident that I will make my first sale this year. Um, whether people want to argue market cap or not, I don't think market cap really ever plays a role. It's just whatever one person's willing to pay for one share is all that market cap's based off of. Um, so you can actually you can do TA for long term. The way the way I look at it is you just encompass the entire bear market, and you can kind of set you a strategy from that. And once those targets get reached, you could set you a new target, and so on and so forth. Uh, I'm drawing a blank. The word dilution. I keep wanting to say distribution. I'm thinking of accumulation and distribution here. So I'm asked a lot about the effect of dilution on Fibonacci's, and really, I mean, they're just a way for them to help play out, in my opinion. Especially obviously if I was just to pull fibs from before the dilution occurred, or only after they stopped or something, it could be completely different. But once you start encompassing them in your Fibonacci, they just kind of help them play, because the dilution is kind of what's taking you to the levels that you're pulling your Fibonacci's from, anyways. And so they kind of help that play out. And when you pull it from here, I mean, it's kind of crazy that you can see how well. I mean, that 2.618 it shows as a resistance there, even though where I pulled it from has no effect on this area of the chart. Um, but you best believe that because it was a resistance here at a different, you know, amount of outstanding shares and under different management and all of that, because it was a resistance here, even without this Fibonacci on here, it's going to become a resistance again. And having a Fibonacci level line up on that even more solidifies that. It's the same way with this. I mean, it came up to this point right here in May for a reason and met resistance, and that's because there was resistance given at that level. Um, after this will be, chances are, higher chance than not, after the reverse split, but it's still the same equivalency in a way. So there's without a doubt in my mind at all that we'll hit $1 and we'll probably wick over it to $1.14 or whatever equivalent after the reverse split. So that's kind of how I base my exit strategy. This 1.618, the golden ratio, is where I'll sell half of it. The other half, I'm not. I mean, I'm long term. I'm long on it, but at the same time, I'm not forever on it. And I have an actual exit strategy as opposed to a trading strategy. And I will release half of it here, and I will release the other half of it here, and I won't release it before that point. Whenever the equivalency of this takes place, I will be completely out. Whether I come back in it at some point in time, or who knows. I like the company. I like the management. The management won't still be there come that time, especially not John. Maybe Doug, but it'll reach this level or the equivalent at some point in time, and I'm just gonna ride it until it does. But this Fibonacci, it tells you all of that. So where we're meeting resistance at the 236, which is a significant level. Once you cross below it, and the majority of your bear market trades below it, it is a beast to try to get back above. And once you do, then that is game on, and there's no telling where you'll stop at that point. So I don't want to really take up too much more time, make this too long of a stream here. I'm more than happy to answer any specific questions to what took place in here, what could be in store, as far as from a TA standpoint, if there is any, but outside of that, have another shot of this chocolate moonshine. Anything else? Yeah. So all right, that's a good question. Um, and I actually had a conversation maybe maybe a month ago. I had a conversation with somebody about shorts, and I understand the whole concept behind all of that, and but to be honest, like only just recently did I even know how you could find short interest and everything. Uh, Casa and I drawing a blank on who else it was kind of pointed me to all that, but I still don't really know too much on. I mean, they're speculating, the move down as much as we're speculating the move up. And it's kind of weird that come out today, um, when I'm seeing this kind of start rounding off here, and maybe they're seeing that too, and they're just speculating that we're gonna get back down to these levels. The fundamentals show me otherwise. All the upcoming catalysts and everything show me otherwise, that we're gonna come down to these levels. But most shorts, from what I can tell, they don't give a rat's ass about fundamentals or anything. They're just looking at the chart and don't even know who the company is a lot of the time. So maybe they're starting to see this round off and just betting on it going down. But maybe they're right to an extent, and maybe it's time that we're going to test this 16, 17 cent range. Uh, but I see a reversal, once we hit it, where they might be seeing it coming down further than that. And it's not really the best one, like for the whole short thing. I see. I know that they have. Well, I don't know that they necessarily affect the chart. They just bet on the chart the same way longs do. I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up at this point. Um, I'm easy to find over on Reddit for anybody that is watching that may not be on the Reddit on the sub, and I can be reached there anytime and answer any more like specific questions that y'all may have. And there's plenty of other guys that could answer some of them that I'm unable to. But for this, I think it's gonna do it here. Thank y'all for joining in with me. If you don't mind giving me a like, it really helps with the amount of viewers potentially to this video, and the more that see it, maybe the more that'll want to participate in this, considering we're at the bottom and really have nothing but upside to come. There's not much to lose for if you're initially buying in at these levels. um, so it'd be good to try to have some other people viewing this outside of current investors. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and end it, and thank y'all.